Okay, I think we're going to get started now. So let me introduce you to my friend Lindsay. I got to tell you, if you want to talk about SEO, right? She runs two different companies, Webshine, which is a digital agency that helps people by doing the work for them, and Pathfinder SEO, which is a product that helps people take care of it themselves, right? Both of them are in the SEO space. It is my pleasure, right, to invite her on to talk to us about SEO for WooCommerce stores, all the on-page and off-page stuff you need to be thinking about, and frankly, what you can do that's manual, what you can do that's automated, all these things that you can do to help yourself and help your store get found online and bring organic traffic to you. So I'm excited to have Lindsay on. Lindsay, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much for the warm welcome.
Awesome. Well, I know you have some slides here. Let's dig straight in and go for it.
Perfect. Before we dive into SEO, I want to take you to a world a little bit further away from your computer, and that is the world of climbing mountains. So before I started working in SEO, I was a mountain guide who helped climbers reach the top of peaks like Mount Rainier, pictured here. The climbers that we worked with often had never hiked a mountain before, so they were reasonably fit, and their first view of their objective was from flying in an airplane near Seattle and looking at this 14,000-foot glaciated peak. You can say they probably felt pretty overwhelmed. It might be the biggest mountain they've ever seen, certainly the biggest mountain they've ever climbed, and when they got their feet on the ground, it only got made worse by looking at the technicality of what was ahead. And so as mountain guides, our job was to basically take novice climbers and to teach them some of the skills that they would need to climb the mountain. But even more important than the skills that they needed, we needed to share with them a process. We needed to break this big long-term objective into small incremental parts. And we did that by basically saying, let's just focus on the next hour. What can we do over the next hour that's going to set us up for success down the line? So we broke the mountain into incremental hour chunks, and before you knew it, we were walking high on the slopes of Mount Rainier and getting to experience things like sunrise, walking into the crater rim, and then celebrating on top of the mountain. And as I reflect back into two different careers that seemingly had no overlapping experience, I really came to realize that climbing mountains and SEO have a lot of similarities. To succeed, you need to have a plan and a process. You need to learn from others, or as Chris would say, draft off of others in the industry space. Pick reasonable but lofty goals. Put one foot in front of the other. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you 5 e-commerce SEO tactics that you can apply that don't require you to be an SEO expert and are going to have a measurable impact on your business and your store. Before we get started, we'll just take a step back to kind of search engine optimization 101 and make sure we're all on the same page. The first bit is making sure we understand what search engine optimization often is. So the phrase SEO is thrown around quite a bit, and what it really means is the art and science of getting your website found in the free or organic space of Google, Yahoo, and Bing. The goal is quite simple. We're trying to increase sales. A couple of statistics that are going to help frame the importance of SEO in your marketing strategy. First is that 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. And secondly, 43% of all e-commerce traffic comes from organic Google searches. So let's dive into the first tactic today. The first tactic I want to share with you is the concept that you should start with qualitative keyword research. You've probably heard people talk about keyword research quite a bit over the years. And what we've seen from working with store owners for the last 10 years is that often store owners dive into quantitative data and forget to do the qualitative keyword research at the beginning. Keywords are just simply the words and phrases that people enter into a search engine. They're also known as search queries. And keyword research is the process to identify the phrases that your prospective customers are going to use to search for your brand and your products. Why is it important? It's really our first tactic because it's foundational to everything you're going to do with SEO. It also keeps you in touch with your audience. Have you ever had a conversation in sort of a sales process where you're using one phrase and they're using another, and you don't feel like they're understanding you just simply because the language or the jargon being applied is different? It's really important to understand your audience, understand the words that they use to solve their problems, what they're searching for, what products they need, what their pain is, and to be able to echo back that same vocabulary to them, so it feels like you're coming alongside them in their customer journey. So we employ a 6-step process to keyword research, and the process begins with understanding our audience. We then go into brainstorming. We then quantify, so we go and find out what do the tools, what do SEO software say about how many people are actually searching for a given keyword. We start to organize and evaluate our keywords into groups or keyword clusters, and we start to think about where in the customer journey a person might be when they're actually searching for that phrase. We start to map our keywords to pages, and then we rinse and repeat, meaning we come back to keyword research time and time again because 2 things change. 1, the industry space evolves. More people start to search for different keywords over different time periods. The tools get a little bit better too, oftentimes, but then also your business expands, your product line expands, you have new product that you're adding, maybe product you're taking away, and you're gonna have to constantly come back to this 6-step process. On this slide, you'll see that I've highlighted 2 aspects of the process, audience and brainstorming. And this is where we see store owners often jump straight ahead. They like the data. They want to quantify how many people are searching for a phrase before they ever take the time to really dig into audience and the brainstorming piece of it. So today what I want to share with you is a little bit more detail on those 2 steps of the process. The audience one starts by asking questions and listening. You want to really understand who your customer is. You want to know what products and solutions you provide to solve their pain, and most importantly, how do they communicate? What words and phrases do they use when discussing their problems, their needs, the product they're looking for? Because that's going to be the foundation of what you then go and research. Audience insights in hand, I then turn to Amazon. And what we do with Amazon and some of the tools that will follow is just use the qualitative data that they provide by starting to type in some of the phrases of interest. So here we're typing in the phrase headphones. We're getting to see some categorization. So headphones are in electronics and also in cell phones and accessories. But then we get to see a handful of other queries that if I started by searching for headphones, what am I likely to then continue on with? And maybe out of this, everything was pretty obvious to you, all of these different things, adapters, over the ear for an iPhone 8, iPhone 7, etc. But I thought it was interesting to see that people were searching for a headphone for kids. So of the top 10 searches essentially in Amazon related to headphones, people are really shopping for headphones for kids. And so by doing this type of qualitative research, you can go and find out what your audience, maybe your audience are people, 30 to 60 years old that are willing to pay a slightly premium price for a headphone. But it turns out some of those people may also be shopping for headphones for their own children. And doing this type of brainstorming is going to help open up the world and open up your eyes to some of the other things that are out there in terms of keyword spaces. I then turn to Google Search Suggest. So again, you can start to type in a phrase and then go and find out what people are searching for. So if I was considering expanding into, say, creating a landing page or a category page for headphones for swimming, I would certainly want to know the volume around it before I invested the time and effort to build it. But before I find out the volume, the number of people searching, I want to know what Google has to say, what types of phrases. So when someone starts to type in headphones for swimming, they're looking for things like laps, pool, underwater, and then some location searches. So taking the time in the very beginning of your keyword research to just slow down and take a step back from quantitative data is hugely helpful. You can then turn to a tool, Answer the Public, and I know that this slide is really small and it's somewhat purposeful because basically when I put in a phrase, in this case I put in headphones into the tool Answer the Public, it shoots out this really amazing cloud of data, and you can see there's no numbers there. They're all 3 to maybe 8-word phrases of what people are searching for in the search engines related to headphones. And I could get it even more specifically by putting in a phrase like headphone for kids or headphones for swimming, and really see what that cloud looks like around my keyword research. So our first tactic of the day is to start with qualitative keyword research. Next up, I want you to think about sharing your expertise via content marketing. An observation that we've had from working with a handful of stores recently, especially in the 2019 age of SEO, is that stores aren't creating enough content. If we take a step back and think about Google and what they care about, there are three things that make common marketing sense to you of what they're trying to measure and reward. They're looking at expertise, authority, and trust. And this is a common acronym, EAT, in SEO speak. And we start to think about content. We start to think about basically that content is going to help you build your expertise. It's where you can share with the world that which you are a subject matter expert in and provide added value on the internet. A statistic to help frame this, 1,890 words is the average Google first page result. So this just means that you need to be writing to share expertise. You need to be writing a lot and providing things like ultimate guides and in-depth information in your content. So we shorten this down to just the concept that long-form content is for the win in today's world of SEO. If we look at a product like organic energy chews, this is a product people consume essentially when they're out running or exercising to be able to maintain their energy levels and keep their calories up. And often when you think about this product in an e-commerce SEO framework, all you're thinking about is how do I rank #1 for the phrase energy chews? That's my product, that's what I want to sell. But if you take a step away and you go back to that foundational first task and you start to think about keyword research qualitatively, what you're going to find is that a huge number of searches exist out there for phrases that go beyond the product. They're talking about things like, how do you use energy chews? How many energy chews do I need to eat? Which ones are the best? Should I take an energy gel in addition to an energy chew? So people are coming to Google, coming to the search engines, and they're entering in these queries. And Google is actually trying to provide a snippet of content for that searcher directly in the Google search result. And here you can see that, and what we call that is a position 0 result. So it rises up above all other results on the page oftentimes and provides an enormous opportunity for store owners to basically share that expertise and get this brand box result right here in the top of the search results. And so let's take a little bit of a look at what you do to get into position 0 and how you can be thinking about writing more content for your store. That's not just the kind of content that's, say, a traditional blog post or a product description. And instead, it's really oriented to this position 0 space. So I'm going to go back to answer the public. And this time I'm going to put in a 2-word phrase. The 2-word phrase I entered in here was energy chews. So this is the keyword that we're really interested in ranking for. And what we're trying to do is understand the surrounding space around it and what it would take to really own and provide a lot of value in that space and share that expertise. And here I get a whole cloud of questions that people are entering into the search engines or entering into voice search that are basically going to help power the type of content that I'm going to write in this 2,000-word landing page, blog post, whatever type of content I'm leaning towards. And I break this out into a matrix. And I try to answer the common questions, statements, and comparisons that people enter into the search engines that then lend themselves to position 0 results. So not every search query has a position 0 result that I can go out and capture. But so many of them do. And if you go through this little matrix, you can see the types of questions, the types of search queries that people are entering that tend to lend themselves to a featured snippet. So here I have why energy chews, what are energy chews, is an energy chew healthy, should I use energy chews for running, energy chews versus energy gel. You probably get the point here. And so the exercise that I put towards you is to identify that keyword space. Take that 2 to 3 word kind of product phrase, enter it into answer the public, and then start to build out your own matrix. what is the type of content that you could go out and create that's going to help you move your store into that position of authority where you're capturing that featured snippet and sharing that expertise at the top of the search result. And it's exceptionally powerful to be into that place. But I think people kind of dig their heels in and say that this is going to be too hard for me to write. But when I break it down into this matrix and then turn it into an outline and start writing that content bit by bit, it actually ends up being a really easy process to create a very robust and thorough document that's going to provide a lot of value out on the internet.
So 1 second here, because I want to introduce a tool. Go back to our grid, right?
Yep.
There's a tool. If you have not used a service called Rev, R as in Ralph, E as in elephant, V as in Victor, rev.com, right? This is one of my favorite activities if I'm talking as a store builder to a store owner and I want to understand their product, what makes this product important, etc. Right? I download I have the Rev app on my phone. I hit the start button on record. It is an audio recording system, right? And I literally sit down with someone and I'm like, hey, so I understand that you are selling this cane, right? Physical product, right? Why do people need a cane, right? And the person on the other end just starts talking to me, right? And they're like, well, you know, there's probably two of the different reasons we see a lot of people using canes. And you're like, okay, which cane is the right cane for me? Like, how do I know how to decide like which one is right? He goes, well, there's a couple different kinds, and he starts talking. You go, okay, how do I know when I should use a cane, right? Like when should I use one, right? Is it just by age, whatever? And then should I use one if I have a bad knee, right? Should I do? Okay, there's plastic ones and there's wood ones, right? Plastic versus wood, which is better, right? And where do you store it when you get on an airplane, right? Do you keep it down by your feet or do you hang it, you know, put it up in the bit? You just keep asking questions, right? Can I get one that is portable and put it in my backpack, right? When I don't need it, right? How much should this cost, right? Is it $10? Is it $50, right? As you ask these questions, there's not a single one of these questions that they don't know how to answer, right? Even if they tell you, oh, I don't want to write all this. I don't know how to write all this. I'm not a writer, but there's not a single one of these questions I've ever asked someone that they don't have an answer for. But by hitting Rev, right, start, and then when we're done, I'm like, hey, thanks, that was really helpful. Boom, stop, save it as canes, right? I can send it to Rev and pay $1 per minute to transcribe it. And I get back a Word doc that has all the answers in it. Now imagine I go back and I go, okay, let me adjust this. I can put that on the bottom of my product page. I can put that, you know, in blog posts, right? Here's the definitive, everything you need to know about canes, and make it a Q&A. There's a ton of stuff I can use this content for. But most often, the reason people get stuck is because it feels overwhelming to create content, right? It feels overwhelming. But remember what Lindsay said at the beginning, right? This is the way you demonstrate expertise. And almost every single store owner I've ever talked to has the expertise. They just don't see themselves as a writer. So by getting away from saying you just need to go write and turning around and having an app and saying, let me just interview you, hit record. I can't tell you the number of times I've done that. And we just go through asking questions, right? And when we're done, he's like, oh, that wasn't bad. And I go, great. I don't know if you know this, but we just talked about canes for 7 minutes. And 7 minutes of content is 3 times the number of words that Lindsay was talking about that show up on the Google homepage, right? Like we just blew it out of the water. This is awesome, right? And they're like, oh, well, that wasn't hard. Like I could do that again. You're like, great. I want to talk about this other product you have. And they don't have any stress or anxiety that they would have if we just gave them a blank sheet and said, start typing, right? And they're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do.
Awesome. So the takeaway here is that content for stores goes beyond product pages. And as Chris just mentioned, there are a lot of ways to get around and get towards writing a lot of content without actually having to type and invest a lot of your time into a process that may be hard for you if writing isn't your thing. Our third tip for you today is to think about automating your on-site optimization. So on-site optimization are the elements on your web pages which help the search engines derive more meaning from content. And when I think about on-site optimization, I think of a handful of building blocks: page titles and meta descriptions, H1 through H6 tags, alt text, internal links. These are all elements of a web page that help the search engines get more context, get more meaning out of the words on the page. And if you go to the beginning of SEO, which is basically trying to win the click, trying to get the visibility, trying to get someone to click on my listing, and then ultimately trying to get them to buy or purchase, and we look at a search for something like this and ask ourselves, who will get the click? We can go through and look at these search snippets and evaluate those that are more likely to get the click. And it's not always just, oh, the #1 result is going to win the click, because you can see in the #1 result, there are no star ratings, there are no reviews, and the meta description, the black part of the text there, it has a lot of ... and kind of fill-in spaces, so it's not super well written. So this search, even though it's highly competitive and very much owned by the brand, with 2 brand results for Chacos showing up at the top, Amazon, eBay, REI, these are all other players at the top of the search results that might win the click. And when we look at this, we break it down into snippets. And each search result is a snippet, but as soon as you start to have enhanced features within your snippets, we start to call them rich snippets. And so this is an example of a rich snippet that's been enhanced by adding the star ratings and the reviews, something you're really probably familiar with. There's a little best use snippet pulling in here. And the value of rich snippets is essentially, first and foremost, higher rankings. Next, better click-through rates, so people are more likely to actually click on that result and go to your website regardless of where you rank. You get more qualified traffic. So I'm evaluating and scanning throughout that search result page. And if you have a really good meta description, really good page title, and some nice features into your rich snippet, I'm more likely to be really well qualified traffic because I've particularly selected you. You're going to see better conversion rates. So you're going to see people that understand that when they come to your website, they're there to shop or they're there to buy, because there have been active uses of those phrases in these results. And ultimately, you're going to see more sales. So rich snippets can increase your click-through rates by a staggering 677% and drive 20 to 40% more traffic to your website. Pretty powerful. So we have to ask ourselves, though, how are we going to optimize every page on our website to be able to go after this rich snippet approach? And here's a quick snapshot of what that might look like on a big e-commerce store that in this case sells candy. So just under one navigation item, there are about 100 links to the different brands of candy that they carry. Hold on one sec, sorry. So what ends up happening for store owners is basically they get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of their sites, and they just freeze and say, you know what, on-site optimization isn't for me. It's just going to be more investment than I can basically make to see the return, because I'm going to have to manually go in and do optimization for hundreds, if not thousands of pages. And so there's an easy solution there, and that is to create a strategy that balances automation with customization. So here's a little bit of what that balance might look like when we go back to that concept of writing those page titles and meta descriptions for your content. And your goal is to have a unique page title and meta description for every page on your website, every product, every category, everything. And at the end of the day, if maybe that size of your site is 1,000 or 10,000, that would be a huge project. If you could do, each one in a minute, you're still looking at huge amounts of manpower to go in and to do that type of work. And so what we're going to do is prioritize the pages that we want to customize versus the pages that we want to automate. So on the customization side of things, the homepage is sort of a no-brainer, right? You're always willing to put time and effort into getting your homepage search result to look really good and to resonate with the search engines and, more importantly, users. Oftentimes, it's worth investing in your category pages, maybe your top-selling products, your blog landing page, your contact page, and your return policy. So these are all pages that are heavily searched for and that you can really get in a reasonably time-effective manner, unless you're that candy store with hundreds of category pages, get in and customize. On the automation side, we're thinking about blog posts. So they're frequently updated. Maybe you have multiple team members writing for the blog and they don't all know SEO best practices, so they're going to forget to put in a good page title and meta description. My product pages, and you can move that category page and make an argument for either to put that in either one of these columns based on the size of your store. And so here's just a little example screen capture from the Yoast SEO plugin that basically says, for the content type products, I want you to customize my SEO title and my meta description with the following variables. So there are variables that I can add in here and essentially be sure to control the content that's then pulling into the search results. So instead of just pulling in maybe the description of the product page and having it get kind of cut off at a random variable, I might decide to put in like shop for and then the name of the product and then a sentence or a call to action to really customize those for products. I can then come in and just overwrite this on a product by product basis as my time allows and as my product line really dictates. For those that are already excelling, I might want to go in and tweak your page titles and meta descriptions. And then there are other ways that you can basically automate some of your on-page SEO, things like getting your schema markup around products so that you get those reviews pulling right into the search results and you don't have to do anything for your product pages. So the suggestion here is to basically go invest an hour into automation of your on-site optimization and see how much you can improve that those page titles and meta descriptions. It's pretty amazing that in an hour of time, when I'm really thoughtful about what I'm automating, I can come up with some really great page titles and meta descriptions for really large websites. The next tip is to leverage relationships to build backlinks. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about all sorts of words that come to mind when you hear the phrase link building. You think spam, you think black hat SEO, maybe those lame email requests that we're all getting. And so what we find is that stores just don't know where to get started with link building because of all of the kind of negative press in history around people acquiring links that violates Google's terms of services and really just violate best practices. So I want to change the way you think about backlinks and make you think about good backlinks as building authority. So remember, Google cares about expertise, which we're going to show via our great content, and then authority, which is going to help echo our expertise by having other people basically confirming that we truly are an expert in that subject matter. And so it's authority that we're going to focus on when we think about building our backlink networks, other websites linking into our website. So I want you to start to think about backlinks as your website's neighborhood. You want to be proud of your neighborhood, and you want to focus on professional relationships. So here's another exercise for you to start to think about how to add link building into your ongoing marketing initiatives. We first start to think about link building around the idea of professional relationships. So there are other entities out there that we do business with on a day-to-day basis that can help to echo our expertise or share that expertise in a way that the search engines can derive meaning out of it, meaning they can find the link, crawl through the link, and consider that link a vote of confidence, a vote of endorsement for your brand, for your website, for a product on any one page. And so in this relationship exercise, I want you to sit down and categorize the different types of business relationships you have. So it may look something like this: partners, certifications, directories maybe that you're part of. You have your customers, you have nonprofits or any entity that you provide sponsorship to, and maybe you have some media or some PR going on in your business right now. And when you do that, you can take any one of these topics, in this case I grabbed kind of partners and customers, and start to ask yourself the who. Who is the target here? So if we go back to our candy store example and we start to think about, if you're an e-commerce candy store, who are your partners? Who do you do business with on and offline that help make your business grow? And one of those types of partners might be a whole category of your customers, wedding planners. people that buy candy in bulk for upcoming events. They're really loyal. And wedding planners love to blog. They usually have well-built websites that have, great images and are very aspirational about the amazing wedding they're going to plan. And they're often willing to blog. And so your strategy around here is first identifying that wedding planners are one of your targets for link building, and then thinking about the type of tactic you're going to deploy to actually go for creating that relationship with them in a great way. So you could probably do a poll from your database of your sales and figure out who are the wedding planners that say were your top 10 customers last year. So these are engaged people that already have a partnership with your business. You're going to go and look at those top 10, and you're going to go and check out their websites. Who has a blog? Okay, great. Maybe only 5 of them are blogging regularly, and you're going to just shoot a quick email to say, hey, I hope your business is going well. We really appreciate your partnership over the last year, and I was reaching out today to see if you'd be interested in one of our experts around the subject of candy for events, writing a draft blog post for you that you could then publish basically in a guest authorship type relationship. And here are 2 topic ideas. Let me know if you have any interest. And this email isn't coming out of nowhere. They already know your brand. They already support your brand. Maybe they made 10 purchases last year. But Google has no way of knowing that relationship between their website and your website because there's no link pointing them to. So behind the scenes, you have this professional relationship, but Google has no idea. And so you can go and leverage those relationships to build quality, topically appropriate links that stay well within Google's terms of services. Another example of a partner or customer might be schools selling candy as a fundraiser. So they have a fundraiser page. Maybe you're going to donate candy to some of these fundraisers in your local area. And so on that landing page, they're going to mention all of the businesses and brands that help support the event. And you want to go and make sure you get a link with that mention. I can't tell you, more than 50% of the time I see businesses supporting nonprofits, and the nonprofit either not putting links to any of their supporters in their sort of sponsor or fundraiser page, or being a bit haphazard. So it's like every other one gets the backlink. Make sure your store isn't one of the ones that missed out on the backlink because you simply forgot to ask.
And a lot of times it's that simple. It's just making the ask, like, hey, I noticed we're listed on this page, and yet that link doesn't come back to us, right? Or that our name doesn't come back. I'd love to have it come back, and I'd actually love to have it come back to this specific URL because you may have created a landing page for customers that come over that way. Calling them or emailing them, sending them the link you want, telling them where to put it. Because you have an existing relationship, almost every time they'll just go, oh, sure, no problem. Like, my bad, sorry, we forgot. Instead of sending out those emails that are like, hi, you don't know me, but can I get a backlink on your website? And you're like, that's never going to work. But for your relationships and when you have a partnership already, this is an easy way to get those backlinks.
Exactly, and Chris brought up this concept of being purposeful about where the backlink goes. So whenever we think about link building, we always think of links pointing back to our homepage over and over and over again. It's no wonder our homepage tends to have the highest degree of authority or trust in the search engine's eyes because all of the links are pointing into it. But you can do some really cool stuff with backlinks by being purposeful of where you ask for the link. So if you're talking about the school and it's a fundraiser page and you have a landing page that's deeper into your website that's specifically on topic to that, you want to have them point the link to that page, not your homepage, for a couple of reasons. The most obvious is that the users, the real people that pass through that link, are going to have the best experience by landing on that landing page versus your more generic homepage. So your sales are going to go up. That's the common sense reason. But from an SEO perspective, there's also a bit of art of sort of you're leveraging up some of your deeper level pages, and they're helping to support up other pages on your site. So this is like a deep link structure. It's really natural for the search engines. They're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And so what you'll find in SEO is if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't feel right, if you couldn't explain it to your mom in terms of why you have this link, then it's not a good link. So you want to focus on quality, and you want to just simply ask. And the big thing about the ask is this isn't something you should outsource to another entity. So you don't want somebody with an email address, at SEOcompany.com, that's just going out and peppering, people hundreds and thousands of different emails a day trying to get backlinks for your website. Because those are really unnatural, they're really spammy, they don't reflect well on your brand, and people just hit delete, delete, delete. Instead, if you find those 5 targets of these 5 missed opportunities, by going through this exercise here and going through and naming these, you're going to get 5 really high quality links that you didn't pay a dime for, that really just gave Google what they're looking for, which is more context, more information around your business. So link building targets in hand, after you go through that exercise, start with an ask and see how easy it is if you ask the right person. We're on to our last tactic today. And so for number 5, we want to talk about giving the search engines structure. We see stores often either overcomplicate or underdo site structure. And this is probably because there's a bit of an art and a science there, and it's easy to get carried away in either one direction. So site structure matters even more for e-commerce stores because they're often big websites. So Google needs some scaffolding to understand that website. And I want to give you 3 things to think about when you think about site structure best practices. The first is keep it simple. So don't overcomplicate the uncomplicated. Second, keep it scalable. So think about what's going to happen as your store grows. Is the structure that you put in place today going to be able to scale with you tomorrow? And then this is the big one. Keep every page 3 clicks from the home page. So you don't want to build so much structure. If you think about structure as being like a triangle, you don't want to build so much structure that your triangle is really steep, like an acute triangle, and everything is super buried deep. And so yes, there is structure, but Google and users have to click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times to get to where they're trying to go. That makes it so those pages that are buried deep into your website have a lot less, there are no signals pointing to the importance of those, and they may be your product pages. And they're buried so deep down that Google's like, that's really the stuff in the basement. On the other hand, you don't want to make your site structure so wide that the search engines basically don't have any structure. There's the home page and then there's everything else. And so start to basically map this out and have a visual of what it would look like if you took all of the content away from your web pages and you just built out a site structure map, basically like this. Would every page be accessible from the home page with just 3 clicks? So a bit of an exercise there. I'm going to go back and review the 5 e-commerce SEO tactics we shared today. First, start with qualitative keyword research. Then think about sharing your expertise via content marketing. Next, automate your on-site optimization. Save yourself a lot of time there. Fourth, leverage relationships to build backlinks. And lastly, give the search engines structure. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll turn it over to Chris here and to jump in with any other comments, and we could take a few questions.
Yep. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I find that a lot of times, if you look at this list, right, if you're a store builder and you're working with customers, more often than not, number 2 is the thing that freaks them out. I don't have time to create content. I don't have time to do this. And interviewing, like we talked about, and collecting data, giving them that grid of easy questions to answer will help you a lot. I find if you're a store builder and you're thinking about what you're not doing as a builder, it's number 4, right? You're not doing the work to get the backlinks because in your head, you've basically said, my job is to get the website up. And this is the common mistake we make, right? If you're a store builder, you think, I just got to launch a website. Customers aren't paying for the website, albeit that's what you're charging for. They're paying for a vehicle to generate revenue. Revenue is the end goal, right? And so you want to think of your job as bigger than just, did I put the right theme in place? Did I launch the right store in place? It's, did I also go and get, the backlinks? Did I get you found organically on Google? Did I do the things to help you drive revenue? So creating that list of partners, creating that list of customers, creating those the areas where you do work and going after them and asking for those backlinks, even when they're already mentioning you on their website and just not giving you the link is store builders one of the biggest challenges they have, right? So number 2 is important for store owners. Number 4 is really important for store builders. This whole talk about SEO has also been as it relates to WooCommerce. And so it would be silly to not mention that Yoast SEO has not only a free plugin that you can install for your WooCommerce store, but they have a WooCommerce specific extension, right, that you can add to your Yoast SEO plugin that is specific for WooCommerce, and it will help surface, it'll create the schema and help surface the reviews and stuff. We didn't talk about reviews at all, right? But just so heads up, right? Getting reviews on your product pages, user-generated content, is a fast and easy way to put more content on that page and to enhance the on-page SEO if they're writing about the concepts that you want to reference in that product. It's also the first place where things go sideways if people start talking about your product in use of a different capacity or different way, and you're like, that's not how I want my product to be thought of, and then you have to go and clean up or manage those reviews and kill some of the ones you don't want there, and reinforce and support the ones that you do want there. So reviews is another piece, and of course Yoast, the SEO plugin and the extension for WooCommerce will help surface those reviews as well. So definitely a tool to look at in line with the stuff that we're talking about here that will help you. We are coming up to 1 minute before we wrap up. So here's what I'm going to recommend, right? As we say thank you to Lindsay and we close this out. As a reminder, I told you we've recorded this. We will ship it out tomorrow, so you have access to it. But if you end up with questions that you wanted to get addressed specifically about this topic, by all means, when we send you the recording, hit reply and send us back questions that you had, right? And we will be more than happy to circle back and get you answers. Now, that said, you did see this slide change, right? I want to make sure that you know how to find Lindsay online. So you'll see her contact information on the left side, her obviously background on the right. I want to thank you so much, Lindsay, for your time today. We just hit the 45-minute mark. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being here at this on this webinar series. And we will see you next time with our next webinar for you. So thanks and take care.